The sky was not calm. It was wild, full of dark clouds that moved like angry beasts. The air was sharp, filled with ice and snow. The storm had started hours ago, but now it was growing stronger. The wind howled like 1,000 wolves, and the frozen ground cracked under its force. In the middle of this storm, the world seemed empty. No human, no animal, no sound, only the storm itself. But if someone listened carefully, if someone really paid attention, there was something else. A sound. A weak sound. It was not the sound of wind. It was not the sound of falling ice. It was the sound of crying. Yes, a cry. Small, thin, and almost lost inside the storm. It was the sound of a child. At first, the storm tried to hide it, covering the cry with its roar. But the cry returned again and again. It was soft, but it carried pain. It carried fear. Somewhere in this storm, a child was lost. Far away, under a broken tree covered in heavy ice, lay a small figure. It was not human. Its skin was pale, almost glowing under the silver light of the storm. The skin was thin, and faint blue lines ran under it like tiny rivers of light. The creature was an alien child. Alone, shaking, the storm pushed snow against the child's small body. Its tears rolled down its face, but before they could fall, they froze into tiny crystals. The crystals broke and fell into the snow, shining like broken glass. The child's eyes were big and bright, glowing faintly in the dark. They were full of fear, full of loneliness. The child tried to call out, but its voice was weak. Its body was too cold. It wrapped its small arms around itself, but the storm was too strong. The wind slapped against its face, making it cry harder. It looked left, right, forward, and behind. But there was no one, nothing, only the storm. For a moment, it closed its eyes. The snow piled on its small shoulders, heavy like a blanket of ice. The child's breathing slowed. Its chest moved up and down, but very weakly. The storm did not care. The storm only grew worse. Then came the sound of heavy steps. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Through the white snow, something was moving. Not the storm, not the wind. Something alive. It was a human. The human walked with great effort, every step heavy and slow. The storm pushed against him, almost knocking him down, but he kept moving. His helmet was cracked at the side, covered in frost. His suit was old and scratched, but strong enough to keep him alive. His breathing echoed inside his helmet, loud. And tired, he was not looking for anyone. He was only trying to survive, but then he heard it. That sound. That strange, soft sound. At first, he thought it was only the wind playing tricks. The storm often made strange noises, but then he heard it again. A cry. A child's cry. He stopped. His heart beat faster. He turned his head slowly, trying to follow the sound. The snow hit his faceplate, blinding him, but he focused. Again. He heard it. Small, weak, crying. The human took another step forward, and another. His boots sank deep into the snow. The sound became clearer. It was close now, very close. Then he saw it. Under the broken tree, half buried in snow, was the child. The alien child. Small, glowing faintly, crying silently. For a moment, the human froze. His mind could not believe what his eyes saw. A child? Here? On this planet? In this storm? How? Why? The child looked up at him, eyes wide, shining like two stars. It was afraid, but also hopeful. The human shadow fell over it, protecting it from the storm for just 1 second. The human stepped closer. The snow tried to cover the child again, but the human brushed it away with his gloved hand. The child flinched, afraid of the touch. But it did not run. It could not. The human bent down. His breathing was heavy, fog covering his visor. He could see the frozen tears on the child's face. He could see the glowing lines under its skin. He could see the weakness in its body. The storm screamed louder, as if angry that the human had found the child. The wind grew wild, spinning ice like knives. The human looked around. There was no time to waste. If he left the child here, it would not survive another minute. The child cried again, soft and weak, its tears freezing instantly. The human's chest tightened. He felt something he had not felt in years, something old, something deep. It was not just survival anymore. It was not just about him. It was about saving this small life. The storm raged. The snow fell harder. But in the middle of the storm, two lives had found each other. A human and an alien child. One strong, one weak, one lost, one searching. And in that moment, the story began. The storm did not stop. It grew louder, wilder, as if the planet itself wanted to swallow everything alive. The sky above was black and silver. Lightning flashed far away, but the sound of thunder was eaten by the endless howl of the wind. Snow spun in circles, blinding eyes, cutting skin. Freezing breath, the human pushed forward, step by step, against the fury of the storm. His boots were heavy, sinking deep into the white ground. Every movement felt like carrying stones on his back. His visor was cracked, frost spreading across the glass like spiderwebs. Inside his helmet, his breath fogged the screen, making it hard to see. His oxygen level blinked in red, warning him. Low supply, but he kept walking. Why? Because he had heard something. Something impossible. A child's cry. It pulled him forward, like a voice inside his head. He could not ignore it. He could not turn away. The storm hit him hard. Shards of ice slammed against his suit, scratching the metal. His left arm ached from an old injury, but he gripped his bag tighter. His mind told him to find shelter, to save himself. Yet his heart told him something else. Find the sound. Not leave it step by step. He moved. The cry grew louder, and then there it was. The small figure under the frozen tree. A child, but not a human one. Its skin glowed faintly, like light trapped inside glass. Its small body was shaking, its face wet with frozen tears. The human stopped. For a second, he forgot the storm. He forgot the cold. His eyes locked on the alien child. He had seen many strange things in his travels, but never this. A child, abandoned in the deadliest storm of this world. Alone, the child's glowing eyes looked at him, wide with fear. Its body trembled, too weak to stand. The wind buried it under fresh snow, as if trying to hide it forever. The human's heart pounded. He could leave. He could walk away. This was not his fight, but his legs refused to move. His chest felt heavy. Somewhere deep inside him, a memory woke up. A memory of another storm, another child, long ago. A child he had not been able to save. No, not again. The human stepped forward. He bent down, brushing the snow off the child's face. His glove touched the alien skin cold, thin, almost fragile like glass. The child flinched, eyes wide, ready to cry harder. But it did not pull away. It stared at him, searching for something. Trust, hope, anything. The human spoke, his voice muffled inside his helmet. You're not alone anymore. Of course. The child did not understand his words, but maybe it understood his tone. Maybe it understood the way his hand was gentle, not rough. The human removed one glove. His bare fingers burned instantly from the cold, but he pressed his warm skin against the child's frozen hand. The alien's fingers were thin and glowing faint blue. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the child gripped his hand tightly. Weak, but desperate. The storm screamed louder, angry, furious. Ice hit the man's back like knives. Snow tried to cover them both. The human knew he could not stay here. The child was dying, freezing with every second. He pulled the child into his arms. It was light, too light, like holding a shadow. The child pressed its face against his chest, its glowing eyes shutting slowly. The human tightened his grip. "Hold on," he whispered. He stood, legs heavy, body shaking, but he moved. The storm pushed him back, tried to throw him down, but he did not stop. Each step felt like walking through walls of stone. The cold cut through his skin, biting his bones. But the child's weak breath against his chest reminded him why he was fighting. Minutes felt like hours. He stumbled once, almost falling, the snow pulling at his legs. The child whimpered, a soft sound that cut through the roar of the storm. The human steadied himself. "I've got you," he said, his voice strong even when his body was not. The world was white, endless white. No landmarks, no signs of safety, only the storm and the snow. But the human kept going. He had to. The child opened its eyes slightly, glowing weakly. Its lips moved, but no human word came out, just a whisper in a strange alien tongue. The human could not understand, but he answered anyway. "You're safe now." The storm did not. And the night did not lighten. But in that endless frozen hell, one small bond was formed. A bond between a human survivor and a child not of his kind. The wind howled. The ground cracked. Yet inside the human's arms, the child's breathing continued. Weak, but alive. The storm would not give up. The planet itself seemed to want them. Both dead. But the human had made a choice. He would fight the storm. He would carry the child. Because sometimes, even in the coldest storm, a small cry could bring back something that had been lost for years. The will to protect. The will to hope. And so, the human walked on, deeper into the storm, holding the fragile life close to his heart. The storm had found 2 lives, but it would not take them. Not tonight. The human's arms grew heavy, but he did not let go. The alien child lay weak against his chest, its faint glow shining through the snow-covered storm. Each step forward was a battle. The storm wanted to bury them, to freeze them both into silence forever. But the man's will was stronger. Finally, he found a place to stop. A wall of broken stone stood against the wind, giving him a small shield. He leaned against it, knees trembling, lungs burning inside the cracked helmet. His breath was short. Clouds of frost filling the inside of the visor. He looked down at the child. Its eyes were half closed, glowing dim like a fading star. The blue lines under its skin flickered slowly, as if the light of life was running out. Its lips trembled, whispering a sound he could not understand. The human pulled the child closer to his chest, trying to share what little warmth he had left. His bare hand, already red and stiff from the cold, pressed against the alien's small fingers. The child's skin was colder than ice, yet it still held on to him, refusing to let go. For a long moment, the man just stared. He had never seen a creature like this. It was fragile, delicate, but strange and beautiful at the same time. Its tears had frozen into crystals, sharp and glowing faintly, like diamonds broken by sorrow. He wondered, where did this child come from? Why was it alone? The planet was harsh. It was not meant for children, not meant for life so small and unprotected. The man had traveled across many frozen worlds, but he had never seen one with children like this. It did not make sense. Something was wrong. The child stirred, its body shaking with small coughs. A weak sound escaped its throat, soft but clear. The man leaned closer, trying to hear. The child's eyes opened wider for a second, glowing brighter. Then it spoke again. The words were not human. They were strange, broken, almost like the crack of ice, but the tone was clear. It was calling for something, or someone. The man's chest tightened. He did not understand the language, but he understood the meaning. This child was not just lost, it was waiting. Waiting for someone who never came. The storm screamed again, snow crashing against the rocks. The man looked around. No signs of life, no footprints, no shelter. Just white emptiness in every direction. If this child had family, they were gone. Or worse, they had left it behind. The thought cut him deep. He had seen death before, seen people left behind in wars and storms. But a child. It burned inside him like fire. He pulled his pack off his shoulder and set it down. His fingers stiff. From the cold, opened it quickly. Inside were small supplies. A thermal blanket, a broken heater, a few food packs. Nothing more. He wrapped the blanket around the child, tucking it tight against its small frame. The blanket warmed quickly, glowing, faint orange as it activated. The child's breathing grew stronger, though still faint. The man let out a slow breath. "Stay with me," he whispered. The child's eyes flickered open again. This time, it did not look afraid. Its glowing eyes stared straight into his, calm, almost trusting. The man felt something inside him shift. He had carried soldiers wounded, strangers, even enemies on the battlefield. But this was different. This was not duty. This was not survival for his own sake. This was something else, something he thought he had lost long ago. Hope. The child coughed again, then whispered something. The man shook his head slowly. "I don't understand, but I hear you." The child blinked slowly, then reached out its small hand. It touched the man's chest, right where his heart beat under the frozen suit. The faint glow from its skin spread to his armor, a soft blue light in the storm's darkness. The man froze. He felt warmth. Real warmth. Not from the heater, not from the blanket, but from the child itself. For one heartbeat, it was as if the storm disappeared. Then the light faded. The child grew weak again, falling into quiet breathing. The man stared at his chest, his mind racing. What was this child? Why did it glow? Why did its touch feel like fire and peace at the same time? This was no ordinary being. This was something more, something important. The storm had tried to bury it, but maybe the storm was afraid of what this child carried inside. The man lifted the child again, holding it tighter. He looked at the endless storm around him. "I don't know who you are," he whispered, "but I'll find out." "I promise," the storm roared back, but he did not care. He had made his choice. He would not abandon this child. He would not let its tears freeze forever. For the first time in years, the man felt he was not walking alone. He was carrying more than a fragile body. He was carrying a secret, a mystery, and maybe a future. The storm would fight him. The planet would try to kill him. But he had discovered something worth risking his life for, an alien child, a fragile light in a world of ice, and a bond that could change everything. The storm still screamed outside, endless and merciless. Snow spun in circles, covering the world in white silence. But in the human's arms, the small alien child shivered softly, alive but fragile. Its faint glow flickered like a candle fighting against the wind. The man leaned against the frozen wall of stone, his body shaking from exhaustion. His helmet display blinked red again, oxygen low, body temperature dropping. Every warning told him, you cannot save both lives, not yours and the child's. But he ignored it. His eyes stayed fixed on the little being wrapped in his blanket. The child's small chest rose and fell weakly. Its glowing veins pulsed like fading stars. Yet, even in this near-death state, its hand still clung to his. The man stared at that hand. Thin, almost transparent, yet warm in a strange way. The touch was not just physical light, carried something else, something deep, like a hidden message without words. He pressed his bare fingers tighter around the child's. His skin burned with the cold, but he didn't care. He whispered through the fog of his breath, "You're safe with me. I won't let you go." The child's eyelids trembled. Slowly, it opened them. Those glowing eyes, so strange, yet so full of emotion, locked onto his. No language was needed. In that gaze, fear mixed with hope, weakness mixed with trust. The man felt it clearer than any spoken word. The child understood him, not the words, but the feeling behind them. The storm outside howled, but inside that small space of rock and snow, something else was growing. A connection. The man remembered another time, long ago. He saw in his memory the face of a little girl, his own daughter. A face he had lost in another storm, on another world, when he had been too late. He had carried guilt in his heart, ever since, guilt heavier than any storm. Now, looking into the alien child's eyes, he felt that guilt shift. This time, he had a chance. This time, he could protect. The child coughed weakly, a small sound lost in the wind. The man leaned closer. "Stay with me. Don't give up." The child's lips moved. A whisper came out, soft, broken, not human words. But the tone was clear. It was answering him. The man nodded. "I don't know what you're saying, but I hear you." The child blinked slowly, and then, with all its fading strength, it raised one small hand. Its glowing fingers touched his chest, right over his heart. The man froze. The touch was light, weaker than a feather. Yet the effect was powerful. A strange warmth spread through him, deeper than the cold, deeper than the storm. It was not just heat, it was something alive, flowing inside him. For a moment, he saw flashes in his mind. Images not his own. A tall city of crystal towers shining under alien suns. A family, figures glowing like the child standing together, smiling. A world beautiful and full of light. Far from this frozen wasteland, then darkness. Fire, screams. The vision broke into shadows, and finally this child, alone, crying in the storm. The man gasped, pulling back slightly. His heart raced. Had the child shown him this? Was it even possible? The child's glowing eyes closed halfway, exhausted from the effort. Its hand slipped down, but the connection had already been made. The man now understood. This child was not ordinary. It carried memories, power, maybe even a message from another world. Its tears were not just sorrow, they were pieces of a lost story, frozen in crystal. He held the child tighter, whispering with new determination, "I see you. I don't know why you're here, but I'll keep you alive, no matter what." The storm screamed louder, as if it had heard his promise and wanted to break it. Ice cracked around them, snow poured heavier. But the man stood strong, shielding the child with his own body. Hours passed, the cold grew worse. Yet the connection between them only deepened. Every time the child stirred, every time it looked at him, the man felt a unspoken bond. As if their hearts were linked, the child was no longer just a stranger. It was something more, something he had been searching for without knowing. As the night deepened, the man whispered one last promise before closing his tired eyes for a brief rest. "You're not alone anymore. I'll be your shelter. I'll be your strength." The child's small fingers tightened weakly around his hand. Its faint glow pulsed one more time, like a heartbeat answering his. And there, in the middle of the storm, A connection stronger than the ice, stronger than the cold, was born. Not of blood, not of language, but of survival and trust. The storm had no mercy. It roared across the land, tearing through everything like a beast with no end. Snow slammed against the man's body, ice cut across his suit, and the cold bit into his bones. Yet, through it all, he held the alien child, tight against his chest. The blanket wrapped around the child glowed faintly, giving off what little warmth it could. The small body inside shivered but breathed. That was enough for the man. Each week, breath reminded him why he kept walking. He had no map, no clear path. Only endless white in every direction. The wind erased his footprints as soon as he made them, so even the idea of turning back was impossible. But he could not stop. To stop was to die for both of them. "Hold on," he whispered to the child. His voice was low, rough, but steady. "I'll get us through this." The child's glowing eyes blinked open for a moment. It did not speak, but its small hand gripped his chest again, right where his heart beat. The man felt that strange warmth flow into him once more, faint but real. It gave him strength to take another step, and then another. The storm fought back. The wind slammed against him, almost knocking him down. He bent his body, shielding the child, forcing his legs to move. His boots sank deep into the snow, each step heavier than the last. His helmet display flashed warnings: oxygen low, body temperature critical, but he pushed the messages away. The child's weak heartbeat against his chest mattered more than the red blinking lights. Time felt strange. Minutes stretched into hours, hours into something endless. The world became nothing but snow, ice, and the sound of the storm. Yet, the man kept moving. At times, the storm played tricks. He thought he saw shapes moving in the distance, tall shadows, strange figures. Once, he even thought he heard voices calling through the wind. But when he turned his head, there was nothing, only white emptiness. The child stirred once, whispering in its strange tongue. The man could not understand, but he answered anyway. "I hear you. Just stay awake. Stay alive." His voice broke the silence, but only for a moment. The storm swallowed it, carrying it away into the endless dark. The ground grew uneven. Ice cracked beneath his boots, hidden under layers of snow. Once, the earth gave way, and he almost fell into a hole. He caught himself at the last second, clutching the child close. His heart pounded. One mistake, and they would both be lost forever. He stopped, breathing hard, his chest heavy. The child's faint glow reflected on the ice. For 1 second, the man felt despair. The storm was too strong. His body was too weak. Maybe this journey would end here, in the white nothingness. But then, the child's hand moved again, gripping his suit. Its glowing eyes opened slightly, looking at him with silent trust. Even near death, the child believed in him. The man's jaw tightened. He could not fail. Not again. He straightened his back, pulled the child closer, and forced his legs to move. Each step felt like dragging a mountain, but he walked. One step, then another. Again and again. The storm screamed louder, as if angry at his defiance. Snow slammed into his faceplate. Ice cut his exposed hand, his vision blurred with frost. Still, he pushed forward. Finally, after what felt like forever, he saw something. A dark shape in the white blur. At first, he thought it was another trick of the storm. But as he drew closer, the shape grew real. It was a cliff, jagged and black, with an opening at its base. A cave. His heart leaped. Shelter, he stumbled toward it, almost falling several times, but refusing to stop. The wind grew, even harsher, as if trying to drag him away. He bent low, shielding the child, and pushed himself through the narrow cave entrance. Inside, the the storm's roar faded, replaced by silence. The man collapsed against the stone wall, still holding the child tight. For the first time in hours, he could breathe without snow filling his visor. His body shook, but he was alive. The child was alive. The cave was dark, cold, and damp. It was not safe, not truly, but it was shelter. A pause. A chance. The man set the child gently on the ground, wrapping the glowing blanket tighter around. Then he pulled out his pack. His frozen fingers struggled, but he managed to light a small flame. The fire flickered weakly, casting shadows on the cave walls. The child opened its eyes, the glow inside them reflecting in the firelight. It looked at him, no longer only with fear, but with something else, something soft. The man leaned closer, speaking gently, "We made it. You're safe. For now." The child's lips moved. Another whisper in its alien tongue. The man could not understand, but he felt it. The tone was not fear this time. It was trust. He smiled faintly, for the first time in years. His hand, raw from frostbite, brushed lightly against the child's glowing cheek. The child did not flinch. It leaned into his touch. The connection between them grew stronger. The storm outside still raged, but here, in the cave, there was something new. Not just survival, not just chance, but a bond, human and alien, protector and child. The man closed his eyes for a moment, listening to the faint sound of the child's breathing. He whispered softly, almost like a vow, "No storm will take you, not while I breathe." And outside, the wind screamed on, furious that its prey had escaped. The cave was dark. But it was a different kind of dark than the storm outside. Here, the air was still. The roar of the wind was faint, like a beast trapped behind stone walls. Snow piled at the entrance, trying to push its way in. But the rocks held firm. The man dropped to his knees, his muscles screaming in pain. His breath echoed in the helmet, rough and uneven. Every part of his body was frozen, numb. But his arms never loosened around the small bundle he carried. The alien child. He laid the child carefully on the cold ground, wrapping the glowing blanket tighter. The weak fire he had started flickered, sending shaky light across the stone. Shadows moved like silent watchers along the walls. The child opened its glowing eyes, weak but alive. Its chest rose and fell slowly, each breath shallow but steady. It turned its small head and looked at the man. For a long moment, neither moved. Then the child blinked, slow and deliberate, as if to say, "We survived." The man let out a shaky laugh, though his throat was raw. "Barely," he muttered. He removed his cracked helmet. The air inside the cave was thin, sharp with frost, but at least it did not cut like the storm's blades. He wiped frost from his face, his skin pale and stiff, lips cracked from the cold. His body ached with exhaustion, but when his eyes returned to the child, strength returned. He pulled food from his pack-hard rations, nearly frozen. He chewed slowly, forcing his body to take in fuel. Then he broke a piece into smaller parts, holding one out toward the child. The child stared at it, confused. Its glowing fingers touched the food but dropped it quickly, not recognizing it. Instead, it whispered in its strange tongue, soft and fragile. The man sighed. "You don't know this. Of course you don't." He set the food aside and instead took a small water capsule, cracked it open, and pressed it gently to the child's lips. The child hesitated, then sipped. Its glowing veins pulsed brighter for a brief second. Its eyes softened, and it gave a faint nod, understanding this was life. "Good," the man said quietly. "Drink. Stay alive." He leaned back, letting the fire warm his hands. For a moment, silence filled the cave. Silence, but not peace. Something about the cave felt strange. The shadows along the walls seemed too deep, too alive. The air carried a faint hum, not from the storm, but from the stone itself. The man narrowed his eyes. This was not just rock. This place had a presence. The child stirred again, coughing softly. The sound echoed in the cave, and for a brief moment, the hum in the stone grew louder, as if answering. The man frowned. He looked at the child. Its glowing eyes stared into the darkness, as if it too felt something hidden. Its small hand trembled, and it reached for him again. The man took the hand without hesitation, his rough skin closing around its fragile fingers. "It's all right," he said softly, though he was not sure if it was true. The fire burned low, its light golden against the alien glow of the child. Together, they cast two colors onto the wall: human warmth and alien light, mixing into something new. The man leaned back, exhaustion pulling at him, but his mind refused to sleep. He thought about the vision he had seen when the child touched. His chest towers of crystal, a family glowing like stars, a world that no longer existed. He thought about the screams, the fire, the loneliness that followed. He looked at the child again, lying weak but alive beside him. Was this the last of its kind? Was he holding the only survivor of a world now lost? The thought struck deep. He clenched his fist. "I won't let that be your end. Not while I breathe." The child made a sound, soft and almost like a question. Its glowing eyes blinked slowly, searching his face. The man smiled faintly, though it was tired and broken. "Rest. I'll watch." Hours passed. The storm outside raged, but inside the cave, warmth grew from the fire and from the bond between them. The child's glow pulsed gently, sinking almost with the man's heartbeat, but the cave was not empty. In the far shadows, deep cracks lined the walls. From them came faint sound strips, echoes, and something else. A movement, slow and patient. The man's eyes narrowed. His hand reached for the small blade at his side. His body was weak, but his instincts were sharp. They were not alone. The child stirred again, its glowing eyes focusing on the shadows. It whispered one word in its strange tongue, filled with warning. The man leaned closer. "I hear it too." The fire cracked, throwing sparks. The shadows along the walls shifted, no longer still. Something was waiting in the dark, watching them both. The man pulled the child closer, wrapping the blanket tighter around it. His voice was calm, but his grip was firm. "You're safe with me. Whatever's out there, it'll have to go through me first." The cave grew colder, darker. The hum in the stone deepened. The storm outside was not the only danger now. Inside, in this fragile shelter, a new threat waited, but so did their bond. Human and alien, protector and child. Together, they faced the shadows. The shelter had given them safety from the storm, but it had also awakened something else. Something watching, something waiting. The fire burned low. Its orange glow danced across the walls of the cave, fighting the darkness. Outside, the storm still howled, but inside the cave, the sound was different, less like nature, more like voices carried on the wind. The man sat close to the child, one arm wrapped protectively around it. The child's glow pulsed faintly, but slower now, weaker, like a lantern running out of oil. The man could feel its breath, shallow, fragile, each one a small battle for survival. "You're still with me," he whispered, his voice rough, but steady. The child blinked slowly, its glowing eyes reflecting the firelight. It made a soft sound in its strange tongue. Though the man could not understand, he could feel it. The tone was not fear this time. It was a plea, a request. The man leaned closer. "What is it? What do you want me to know?" The child's trembling hand reached for him again. Its glowing fingers pressed against his chest, right where his heart beat. The vision returned. The man's mind exploded with light towers of crystal. Shining cities, skies filled with strange stars. He saw the child's people, tall and radiant. Their bodies glowing like living constellations, alive, sang, lived in harmony. For a moment, he felt their joy. Then came fire. The light shattered. The cities fell. Shadows swept across the world, dark shapes, tall and merciless, with eyes like burning coals. Screams echoed. The ground cracked. The towers collapsed, and then silence. The man gasped, breaking free of the vision. His chest rose and fell quickly, sweat forming on his frozen skin. He looked at the child. Its glowing eyes stared at him, filled with sorrow too heavy for something so small. "You're the last," he whispered, his throat tightened. "The last of your kind." The child blinked slowly, as if confirming his words. A single glowing tear rolled down its cheek and froze before it touched the ground. The man clenched his fist. He remembered. His daughter's face, lost long ago. He remembered the storm that had taken her. He had carried that guilt through every battlefield, every frozen world, every lonely night. But now, looking at this alien child, he felt something shift. This time he had been given another chance. He pulled the child into his arms, holding it tightly. "I couldn't save her," he whispered, voice breaking. "But I will save you. I swear it." The cave shook. At first, he thought it was the storm outside, but then he heard movement in the shadows. A low hum rose from the cracks in the stone, deeper, heavier, like a growl without a mouth. The man drew his blade, his tired body ready to fight. His eyes searched the darkness, sharp and steady. From the cracks came shapes. Black forms, tall and twisted, moving slowly like liquid shadows. Their eyes burned red, glowing in the dark. The same eyes he had seen in the vision. The child clung to him, trembling. Its small glow flickered brighter for a moment, as if reacting. To the threat, the man stood, placing himself between the child and the creatures. His blade trembled in his frozen hand, but his stance was firm. "You're not taking this one?" he growled. His voice echoed in the cave, stronger than the fire. The shadows hissed, moving closer. The cave walls shook again, dust falling from. Above, the man gritted his teeth. He was tired, he was weak. But he would not fall here. He would not let them touch the child. The child's hand pressed against his back. Its glow spread across his armor, wrapping him in faint blue light. The warmth returned, stronger than before, flowing through his veins. His heart pounded harder. His arms steadied. The shadows hissed again, but the man's voice cut through. "I promised, and I keep my word." He raised his blade, firelight flashing against the steel. The cave trembled as the first shadow lunged forward. The man struck, his blade tearing through it like smoke. The creature dissolved into ash, its red eyes fading into nothing. More came. But the man stood unshaken. The child's glow pulsed brighter, feeding him strength. For every shadow that moved, his blade cut. His arms refused to fall. His heart refused to stop. The battle was not long, but it felt endless. When the last shadow dissolved into darkness, silence filled the cave again. The man dropped to one knee, breathing hard, blade still in his hand. He turned, looking at the child. The child's glow was faint, but its eyes were steady. It reached out, touching his hand gently. The bond between them was no longer just survival. It was deeper. Unbreakable, the man lowered his blade, pulling the child close once more. His voice was soft, but firm, carrying weight like stone. "I don't know what waits beyond this storm. I don't know why your world was destroyed. But I know this," he paused, tightening his hold. "You will not be alone again. I promise you that." The child's small hand pressed against his heart once more. Its glow pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. Together, they sat in silence, firelight and alien light mixing in the dark cave. Outside, the storm began to weaken. The wind slowed, the snow softened, the world grew quiet. The night was ending, but a new story was only beginning. A man and a child. Human and alien. Survivor and last hope. Bound by a promise stronger than the storm.